Call the Owatonna City Council meeting to order tonight for April 2nd. With that, may we have roll call? Jeanette?
Councilmember Rainey.
Here.
Svenby. Trilson.
Here.
Dodson.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Burbank.
Here.
Abraham.
Here.
Mayor Kuntz.
Here.
We have 6 of the council and the mayor present.
Thank you. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to welcome everyone here for the meeting tonight, and we do not have any changes or additions to the agenda, so we'll look for a motion to approve it as presented.
So moved.
Got Nate for motion, second by Raymond. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. With that, we will start with note 1.4, summary regarding evaluation of City Administrator Chris Busey. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Les. The Mayor and City Council conducted a performance evaluation for our City Administrator, Chris Busey, at a closed session on March 19th, 2013. Chris Busey was evaluated in 7 areas. The areas were communication, quality, quantity of work, relationships, financial management, staff management/development, and leadership. Chris Busey's performance evaluation demonstrates that she meets and exceeds expectations in all 7 areas. Chris demonstrated clear communication to the council. She produces high quality of work, and she does a great job in building and maintaining relationships with her staff and the community. Chris Busey has succeeded in many accomplishments for the city of Owatonna. A few of those accomplishments are maintaining and being accountable for the city budget, the lean processes, staff replacements, and economic development projects. Chris Busey has been with the city of Owatonna for 5 years. With that, I recommend to the city council that you make a motion to approve moving her to step 5 on the pay scale effective April 1st, 2013.
Thank you. And I do conclude that Chris has done an excellent job for us for the past 5 years, and it is very, very, very much appreciated. And with that, the chair will look for a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Motion by Greg to approve the reevaluation. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Kevin Rainey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved, and congratulations, Chris.
Thank you very much.
With that, pardon?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
With that, we will move on to 1.6, presentation of 2013 Minnesota Senior Games. And do we have anyone here to present that?
I think so.
I was hoping we would have somebody here, but I'll just make a couple comments. It's going to be in June of 2013, and they really need some volunteers in order to be able to staff all the stations and everything. I think my understanding is that they've got already close to 100 people signed up from out of state coming into Owatonna to do those senior games. So I just wanted to make sure that the public is aware of that. If they want to volunteer for stations or even get into the games, they can either get Tim Chulson or go to Senior Place and get that information.
Thank you. And because with that, we will move on to any questions from the council on this.
If I could add one thing, Mr. Mayor, even though they're called senior games, it's open to age 50 and older, so obviously it includes a lot of people.
Probably all of us?
Probably all of us.
There's also information out on the websites. You can access that through our through the city web page. Main page, it'll direct you to the page that's there under Senior Place with the senior games, but it's got all the forms and all the information that you really would want to in review of that first.
They have an excellent web page. I've been into it, looked at it, all the games, when they're held, what day, where they're at. Somebody's put a lot of work into that.
Unfortunately, one of the conflicts is that the League of Minnesota Cities Convention is at the same time.
We have a tough decision.
And we have, yes. So, but it is available if anyone wishes to participate, please do. With that, we'll move on to the next item, financial report, and I will give a quick recap of our bills. $62,728 for the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust. Quarterly workers' comp premium, $111,631 for other expenditures, for a total of $174,359. What is the council's wishes?
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
Motion by Kevin Rainey to pay the bills. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These have been approved. Next item on the agenda are consent agenda items, which are council minutes, meeting minutes, license permits, department reports, and other miscellaneous items, all grouped into one motion to make it a little more efficient. And what is the council's wishes on the consent agenda items?
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Raymond Toolson to approve the consent agenda items. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Nate Dotson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been approved. We now move on to action items 3.31, conditional use permit, number C-1349 for Panda Express. And with that, we'll go to Troy.
Panda Express is proposing to construct a 2,210 square foot restaurant with a drive-up lane at 1115 West Frontage Road. That's right next to the McDonald's. Our site is also being prepared to allow for an additional 2,000 restaurant in the future. When that construction is to happen, they would need to go through a zoning approval for that additional building. There is back room on the site for up to 9 vehicles, which the planning commission calls as adequate. All zoning requirements are met by this proposal. At the public hearing, we did not have any opposition to the project, and the planning commission recommended approval with the conditions that the plan unit development by conditional use permit shall be approved by the city prior to construction of the second building on the property, and prior to issuance of a building permit, the city and Owatonna Public Utilities shall approve all grading, drainage, and utility plans. So staff would recommend approval of this conditional use permit.
Thank you. Are there going to be any sit-down areas in the initial plan for people to walk in and eat? Or is it
There will be seating inside the restaurant, as well as outdoor seating. There'll be a patio area, and then they'll also have the drive-up lane as well.
But there will be additional, in the future, additional inside.
Well, at construction, there will be indoor seating within the restaurant.
Okay. Raymond?
Troy, on that building like that, does the planning commission approve the landscaping plan? Is that usually approved by the planning commission, or who approves that type of the landscaping? Who approves that?
We do have landscaping requirements that was presented in the landscaping plan that was brought to planning commission, and they do approve, all the plans that you have in there, including the landscaping plan, was approved by planning commission.
So they go through the landscaping usually and look at that, planning commission?
Well, they review it based on what's required for landscaping. Now, they went above and beyond that.
I just see it in the dark print. It's hard to see with
Yep.
the landscaping part of it.
Any other questions from the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
So move we approve.
Nate? We have a motion by Nate to approve and a second by Raymond. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved to proceed. Thank you.
Would we need the conditions with that, like the planning commission?
Yeah.
Would that be
Approved
included in
as-
that motion?
with the
As
conditions.
presented
Is it
with those
complete?
conditions.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
and we'll move on. This has been approved. We'll move on to 3.32, lot split 24-141 Allen Avenue and 690 Mount Street Southwest, and we'll go to Troy.
Al Christensen is requesting a formal lot split of his property on the corner of Allen Avenue and Mound Street. That's where the pit stop is, as well as there's a second building on the property with a laundromat and car wash. The applicant is proposing the split of the lots to allow for the buildings to be sold separately in the future.
Zoning setbacks would be met by the lot split. There would have to be an access easement recorded against the property for the joint driveway. The property has deferred assessments that would need to be paid off at the recording of the lot split. And then there is an EDA loan on the property, and that will need to be addressed and approved by the city attorney. I think the indications were that if the property is sold, that EDA loan would be satisfied at that time. There was no opposition at the Planning Commission at our public hearing, and so staff would recommend approval based on the conditions of the Planning Commission, which address the deferred assessments being paid at the time of the recording, the EDA loan being satisfied, and then an access easement being recorded against both properties for the joint driveway.
Thank you, Troy. Any questions from Raymond?
When you split the lot, does all the setbacks are still met, like side yard and front yard?
Yep, all the building setbacks would be met by this lot split. There's 100-foot frontage that would be needed, and both properties would have 100-foot frontage, and all the side and front yard setbacks would be met as well.
When you drive by there, you look so small to begin with, and then now you're going to split it too. And let's see.
Yep, nope, they are met.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Greg Schultz. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Nate Dotson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Thank you, and good luck with that. And now we move on to resolutions number 3613, adopt agreement for Viracon expansion project, and we'll go to Kyle, right?
I'll
No,
take
Troy.
that. Tax increment financing has been approved for the Viracon expansion project. This allows the city to enter into a development agreement with Viracon. Under the agreement, Viracon would construct a 100,000 square foot addition onto their existing building. The city would agree to relocate utilities for the expansion, as well as construct a regional storm pond in the industrial park. The total increment amount is estimated at $4.3 million. Public improvements are estimated to be up to $2.8 million. The city is applying for an infrastructure grant through the state to cover half the public infrastructure costs, and the other half would be paid by the tax increment generated from the new project. The TIF district would run up to 9 years, and all current taxes would be paid by Viracon that are being paid now throughout the life of the TIF district. The city would bond for the public improvements, which would be paid back by the tax increment from the project and the grant. Viracon will be escrowing $2.8 million with an escrow agent to ensure that the bonds would be paid should the project not happen. There is also an assessment agreement and shortfall agreement built into the development agreement in case the increment generated from the project is not sufficient to cover the bond payments. The city is incurring consulting expenses for establishing the TIF district and drafting the development agreement, and these costs would be paid by Viracon as part of the development agreement. Staff would recommend authorizing signing of the development agreement with Viracon.
Thank you. Do you have this whole thing memorized?
I do not have it memorized, but
Just checking.
I just wonder if we had to, I don't mind that much, but does it have to be that much to have an agreement of some kind? I mean, this is just kind of crazy a little bit.
well, we did have an attorney, a third-party attorney, take a look at this and make sure that we are covered.
Yeah.
We're putting up upfront costs on this project.
I know.
We're letting bids or awarding bids here tonight for part of that, and we want to ensure that we're getting the project and the guarantees that the project's going to happen. We're putting bonds up for these improvements, and we want to ensure that we're not left holding the bag if something were to go wrong. So there's a lot of insurances put into this, and I think that's for the city's benefit.
Yeah.
And due diligence was done on this one.
I'd like to see the attorney's fees just for this project. I mean, it just, what is it, 40 pages?
It's probably pretty close to that, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Greg Schultz to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Thank you. And now we'll move on to Resolution 3713, award bids for 2013 sanitary sewer water main project number 13008. And that will go to Troy on. Kyle. I got my names mixed up here.
Good evening. We did receive bids for some of the utility work associated with the Viracon project on March 13th. This would be for the relocation of the sanitary sewer. The sanitary sewer in 4th Street Northwest needs to be redirected along Park Drive to allow for the building to go across the road, and then also the water main needs to be diverted around the building. So we received 5 bids, and the lowest responsible bidder was Wenzel Construction of Owatonna at $308,630.40. We had estimated the work at $366,119. One of the things, because we ended up delaying 2 weeks on the award of this, we are recommending extending the completion dates that were in the contract by 2 weeks. So it's a tight timeline, and the completion dates would be adjusted by 2 weeks. So we recommend approval with that adjustment.
With that extension. Questions from the council?
Does Park Drive have to be closed during this project?
There will be periods where it's...
Park Drive will have to be closed?
Yep.
Any other questions from the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion we approve.
We have a motion by Nate to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this has been approved. We move on to Resolution 3813, set a public hearing for utility assessments. And that we will go to Chris on. I had that right this time.
Yes, thank you, Les. What we're asking here is for council approval of a resolution which would set the date of hearing on proposed assessments against properties owing a balance on past due utility bills for OPU, Owatonna Public Utilities. If you'll recall, we did pass an ordinance in October of 2012 which would allow OPU to come with a list of unpaid accounts, significantly delinquent. There are currently about 25 accounts with outstanding balances owed on them. Letters were mailed in January advising that the city of Owatonna was going to propose an assessment for the balance. Some had paid, but others have not. So in order to follow the Chapter 429 public assessment process, we must hold a hearing, and we're recommending the council set the date of hearing for our next meeting. And that's what this resolution does.
That date would be for?
16th of April.
April 16th, okay. Thank you. Questions from the council? Raymond?
Can a company stay open, Chris, without paying the utilities? Or
Can a company?
can they still stay open, a business or anything, without paying?
If they work out a payment plan, I know OPU is...
Without a payment plan of some kind, can they
Yeah.
still just keep on going and still not pay their utilities?
No, they need to have either a payment plan or be paid up in
So
full.
everybody on that list, some of those people have agreements then must be,
Perhaps, yes.
Or be getting them? Okay. Questions, other questions from the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Raymond Toulson to approve setting the public hearing date for April 16th. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Kevin Rainey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Thank you. Move on to Resolution 3913, support preservation of tax exempt financing. And that will go to Chris again?
Yes. Recently, proposals for tax reform have included ending the federal income tax exemption for interest on state and local bonds. If approved, this could add up to 2 percentage points to the cost of issuing debt. This exemption has been in place for 100 years or more since the creation of the federal income tax in 1913, and we feel that the tax-exempt financing is a critical component for funding very important local infrastructure projects. And we would urge the council to pass the attached resolution. For us, just as an example, our current bonded debt is approximately $10 million. An additional 2% would be another $200,000 in just 1 year if that were removed. So we would recommend you pass Resolution 3913.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions from the council? Looking for a motion to...
Move we approve.
Motion by Nate to approve preserving the tax-exempt financing. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Thank you. Now we got Resolution 4013, advertisement for bids for 12th Avenue Northwest reconstruction. And there we'll go to Kyle.
Good evening. This is the resolution to authorize us to advertise for bids for 12th Avenue Northwest and the portion of the frontage road being realigned with that project. It's the engineer's opinion of cost is $1,182,964.25 and $168,266.88 being assessed. And you've seen previously the feasibility report showing the how the balances will be paid. We are planning to use state aid money to help pay for this cost, and we recommend approval.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions from the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Nate to approve for advertisement for bids. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Now we'll move on to Resolution 4113, advertisement for bids for 2013 street and utility projects. And there we'll go again to Kyle.
This is the large street project, a little bit of underground work, and then full depth repair on the streets noted, where there will be some assessments. And then on overlays, there are currently no assessments. I want to note on the overlays that Cedar Valley Drive Northwest, Brookview Place Northwest, and East School Street, I'm recommending we remove those from the bid in order to get the budget down for our overlays to what we have. So it's removing approximately $150,000 from the project to get it under the $100,000 budgeted. So recommending approval with that change. If you have any questions.
And the people that have lived on those or are living on those streets have been notified at one point we would be doing them?
The overlays have not.
Okay.
So just the full depth, what's listed as full depth repair.
The ones that have been notified.
So the others with the overlays have not been notified, so we wouldn't have to go back to them and let them know it was removed. We'd put that on for next year.
Thank you. Any other questions for the council? Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion to approve with those removal. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz.
Les?
Kyle.
I'd like to add one more thing. I apologize. I'd like to move that bid date to May 15th. It was proposed for May 1st.
Okay, you want to move it out 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. You want to add that to the motion? Okay.
Explain.
We will add it to that motion.
So, sorry.
Just for Kyle, you having some interest out there? A lot of contractors looking, or?
Yeah, there is, and we have we would have had 4 projects bidding on May 1st, and it would have just been too much to handle administratively. So this one was the easiest to push out.
The motion and the second is to approve with the removal of 3 streets and to change the date to May 15th. Any other questions from the council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved.
Let's just, could I have one, if that date is the opening day, will that have any hindrance at the other end if we're going to change that date and all that?
Not with this contract, I don't believe, because most of the asphalt plants don't open until mid or late May anyway,
Okay.
so we're really not hindering them.
Now we'll move on to Resolution 4213, advertisement for bids for School Street reconstruction project. And we'll go back to Kyle with this one.
Good evening. This is the School Street project associated with the large storm sewer replacement between Oak Avenue and Cedar Avenue. We presented the plans and specifications to the council on March 19th. The opinion of cost on this project is about $740,000 with a proposed amount of $33,872 being assessed. And staff recommends approval.
Thank you. No changes to this other than this is one that will be coming for bid May 1st.
Yes.
Okay. Questions from the council?
Kyle, have you done any more looking in regards to the parking options since we talked?
Yeah, we're going to be changing the language in the specification to get the contractor to develop an access plan. We don't want to dictate how they proceed with their work, but we think it is possible. There will still be days where there won't be access, and then it is a concrete street, so once the concrete goes down, there is a 7-day cure time. So there will be 7 days where people won't be able to access their property. So we will be working with them and keeping them notified as best we can.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Greg to approve. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Now we'll move on to Resolution 4313, parking restriction on frontage road from Brady Boulevard to 12th Avenue Northwest. And that will go back to Kyle.
This came up as part of the 12th Avenue and Frontage Road project. The frontage road doesn't meet the state aid standards for parking on both sides, so we've proposed to restrict to no parking on the south side. We don't believe that this will affect anybody detrimentally, and recommend approval.
Thank you. Now, this is not on 12th Avenue. It is only on the frontage road.
That's correct. The 12th Avenue is a wider street, so it will allow for parking on both sides.
Thank you. Questions from the council?
So move we approve.
A motion by Raymond to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Nate Dotson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Now moving on to Resolution 4414, parking restriction on south side of School Street and Oak Avenue to Cedar Avenue. This will go to, that should be 4413, I think. Yeah. That shows here. We'll go back to Kyle with that.
Good. Because of using the state aid money, the School Street is only currently 36 feet wide, and we're proposing to replace it at the same width. It is currently posted no parking along the south side, but we weren't able to locate any council resolution to that effect. So this is just confirming what's already in place.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the council?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Greg. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion there? Raymond?
Do we have to notify them if they've been having a habit of parking? No. Do we have to tell the people that this change is coming? Or
I guess we can notify the frontage road and the businesses on
School
the...
Street, I'm talking about on the School Street.
School Street's going to stay the same.
Same.
It's already
Okay.
signed.
Oh, okay.
We just have to make it official now.
No, okay, so,
And that School Street, that's consistent with west of there, or I'm sorry, east of there as well? That's all north side of the...
I believe so, yes.
Yes. It is no parking on the south side from Grove to Mosier. So, at this point, so it's consistent. We do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved also. Now we move on to ordinances 3.51, second reading of proposed ordinance 413 to abolish the Police Civil Service Commission. And there we go to Keith.
Thank you, sir. The City Council is being asked to have a second reading.
pull your microphone up, will you? Pull your microphone.
Was that you asking for that? The City Council is being asked to have the second reading of ordinance number 223 for abolishing the Police Civil Service Commission. The current Police Civil Service Commission is unanimously in support of abolishing the Police Civil Service Commission. They believe that human resources, laws, and collective bargaining agreements provide the necessary policy and procedures and oversights to efficiently manage the police department. And the police department does value community input and intends on making community members part of our police department processes far into the future. I do have one legal question for Mr. Walbrand, because abolishing the Police Civil Service Commission will require a unanimous vote of the council, and we have one member absent this evening.
Okay. Table it, you're saying, Mark?
We'll have to table it.
Okay.
So what I will request is a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion by Nate to table, second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I need a roll call, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Councilmember Rainey.
Aye.
Trilson.
Aye.
Dodson.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Burbank.
Aye.
Abraham.
Aye. Okay, this has been,
No, I know. I just got a question on that.
It's one of those.
Keith, I got a question. First of all, we're talking about abolishing that. What will that increase on getting people on board faster? Could you next meeting tell us a little bit how that will help? And the other question I got is more for Chris. Are we going to change the fire in their union contract to change that, or what's the plans?
Since it is in the collective bargaining agreement, that's something that we would bargain and probably work toward, but...
Because it still is in the fire agreement.
Yep, it is.
The purpose of this abolition is to get people on board faster. Wasn't that part of the statement? That was why we're doing it. And
That is correct, sir. One of the most important reasons is to make a very efficient hiring process, and that'll probably take it from upwards of 4 to 5 months back to a month before we'd get somebody hired and into our field training program. So it would really make for an efficient process.
so that's really the purpose of doing that, was to help make that process faster and easier.
That is the main reason. And then with all the laws and collective bargaining agreements and policies, it's kind of an antiquated commission right now. It doesn't mean that the commission members aren't fantastic. It just means that we have a lot of redundancy.
Has other towns changed that also? Is that happening statewide? If we're doing it here, is that happening in other towns? Do you
There's
know?
a very, very small percent of municipalities our size that have a police civil service commission, and they're all going the opposite way. I have not heard of one that's adding a police civil service commission. They are all abolishing them.
thank you. Now we'll move on to the first reading of proposed ordinance 513, Z320 preliminary plat and rezoning of First Avenue Commons Edition, Oak Avenue Commons Edition. And we'll go to Troy on that.
There's actually two requests here for action. One is the preliminary plat, and the other one's the rezoning. The preliminary plat, this is the property where the old Hardee's and Budget Mart site is. We We've approved tax increment financing to do a redevelopment project there. The preliminary plat consists of 2 lots. There'll be 2 buildings on the property, so it's a 2-lot plat. That includes the realignment of that right-of-way from Barney Street into Oak Avenue. There is a little outlot created in that corner that will be platted as outlot A, and that will be deeded to the city. And there will be a final plat that you will see that will come back before the council, as well as a second reading. There will also be a conditional use permit for the specific site plan, and then a development agreement as well. So you'll see a number of things for this project here in the next meeting. The staff would recommend approval of the preliminary plat. The rezoning, and I'll just address that now here, is there's, if you look on the site plan, there's that little notch on the west side of the property. That was once a single-family home. Back when Hardee's was there, they purchased that, demoed the house, and made that into a parking lot. That was never rezoned to commercial. That was left as a residential zone property, which you can put a parking lot in a residentially zoned property. There went through zoning approval for that. In this case, we're replatting it into all 1 lot, and therefore we don't want to have 2 zoning districts straddling 1 lot. So it's cleaner to get it all under 1 zoning district in the B2 zoning district. So staff would recommend approval of that zone change.
Thank you, Troy. Any questions from the council?
Troy, that corner where we're going to finish and do a little different, do we have to buy that chunk the city to do that, or that little corner that you're talking about trying to straighten? Do we have to purchase it? Do we have to buy that corner or south of Hardee's there, or southeast corner where you're going to change that road coming in? Do we have
to? The realignment creates that little triangular piece. Right. That will be given to the city as part of our...
Oh, they're going to give that to us.
Okay.
So moved. Approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Raymond to approve. Do you have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Nate Dodson. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, this is a roll call. I'm sorry.
Actually, the preliminary plat should be first, and that does not require, that's not a ordinance. The ordinance pertains to the zone change. And that requires a roll call.
Vote on the plat first.
We have both are under ordinance.
Yeah, it was all combined under one topic. There's 2 action items. One is the preliminary plat. That does not require an ordinance. The second one does.
On the agenda, it is listed as an ordinance change, so that's what I was going by. So, but if it doesn't require it, we'll just request all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Now we will go to the ordinance for first reading proposed ordinance, amend chapter.
Now you would actually need a motion.
We got to vote on the rezoning.
Rezoning, okay. And that, Chair will entertain a motion. We've already had the discussion.
So moved.
A motion by Raymond to approve the rezoning.
Second.
Second by Greg Schultz. Any further discussion? Now we'll ask for a roll call.
Councilmember Rainey.
Aye.
Trulson.
Aye.
Dotson.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Burbank.
Aye.
Abraham.
Aye. This has been approved also. Thank you. And that is the first reading for that. Now we will move on to the first reading of proposed ordinance 613, amend Chapter 5, Section 415, exemption for Steele County Free Fair Board during Steele County Free Fair. And that will go to Chris.
Thank you, Les. This section pertains to races, tractor pulls, demolition derbies, or other motorized activities at the fairgrounds grandstand. This ordinance was not intended to apply to the Steele County Fair, and this amendment simply clarifies that point. Also, conditions of this ordinance are not an issue at the fair. The fair is well managed. They have plans in place for security, sanitation, parking, insurance, and all the other concerns that the city would have. So staff would recommend approval of the first reading of the proposed ordinance.
Thank you, Chris. Questions from the council?
Motion we approve.
Motion by Nate to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion? Again, we'll have roll call on this.
Councilmember Rainey.
Aye.
Trulson.
Aye.
Dodson.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Burbank.
Aye.
Abraham.
Aye. All ayes, this has been approved. Now we move on to contracts and agreements, and we will go to 3.61, work order number 3 for Bolton Inc. Master plan layout for plant services, and that will go to Troy.
The FAA requires that airports complete and keep updated an airport master plan. This is a comprehensive study of the airport and describes short-term, medium, and long-term development plans to meet future aviation demand. Owatonna last completed theirs in 1974 with updates in the 1980s. We have an agreement with Bolton and Mink to provide master planning services. What will be involved in this one that was not included in the original one is a strategic business plan component, and that's part of the Airport Commission's strategy to help attract businesses to the airport. The FAA has completed and approved the required review of the scope of services. In addition, the Airport Commission approved the scope and fees as presented in their March 14th meeting. The agreement provides for a project cost of $179,700 with an additional $11,200 of optional services if authorized by the city. A third-party independent fee review was completed for this project as recommended by the FAA. The Bolton and Mink services costs, including the optional services, came in approximately 8% below the third-party independent fee review and in line with comparable airport projects in the region. The project is eligible for 90% federal funding grant participation from the FAA Airport Improvement Program. And the local share will be slightly under budget at $17,900. We had $18,000 budgeted for this. So staff recommends approval of the agreement with Bolton and Mink for the 2013 Airport Master Plan Airport Layout Project. This approval is contingent upon the confirmation of the FAA 90% project grant.
Thank you, Troy. Questions from the council?
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Greg Schultz to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Now we move on to 3.6.2 Minnesota DNR Community Forest Bonding Tree Grant, and that will go to Kyle.
Good evening. The stormwater manager and the city forester got together and applied for a tree grant. This grant is to replace trees that were lost due to storms in July of 2009 and June of 2010 and floods in September of 2010. This would be replacing trees on public property. The grant was in the amount of $24,966, and that will allow us to purchase approximately 300 potted trees. They're coming in a number 10 pot. They'll be planted. We do have a plan where we're proposing to put them. I believe it was 6 or 7 sites around town that they'll be distributed to, and we'll be planting those with city forces. They'll go out, use the skid loader with the post hole attachment on the front and pre-drill the holes and then follow along and plant them. We are looking at having an opportunity to use some volunteers on 1 or 2 of the sites for to help out in kind of an Arbor Day situation. So the cost of the trees are covered by the grant, and then we will just have in-kind labor. And staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Kyle. Council's wishes, comment?
Kyle, will that be any boulevard trees at all, or that strictly be public? He says public trees.
Well, an example of a site that was selected was the old Nelson's decorating site down by the city facilities. Really, it wasn't any boulevard trees. There were some stormwater pond locations where we'd be putting them in. Chase Lake State Park, or not State Park, the park out on State Avenue. and I guess I'm drawing a blank on the other locations, but there weren't boulevard trees. It was in the parks and around our stormwater facilities.
Any other questions from the council?
So move we
We have
approve.
a motion by Raymond to approve. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been approved. Now we will move on to public comment. And if anyone wishes to speak, please come to the microphone and sign in. We will allow you up to 2 minutes for items that are not on the agenda. Seeing none, we will move on to council committee reports, and we have one 6.1 Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting date and time. And that, go to Kyle on that one?
No, we just wanted to highlight that the Board of Review will be held on Monday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. right here in the City Council chambers. That's an opportunity for property owners to come before the council acting as a Board of Appeal and to discuss the valuation of their homes and properties. So it's just kind of a reminder.
This is a good reminder, yes.
Chris, did we have anybody go to the training last?
Yes, Kevin, Councilmember Rainey.
Recommend that we all be here to listen to this, but Kevin, I think you are also up current on that.
I would think, being there, I would think 3 hours. I mean, couldn't he reduce that class to an hour and a half? I mean, that's just, I thought 3 hours
It's
off.
put on by the state.
I know, 3 hours long for a,
It was only 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, they cut out an hour.
Oh, they did cut an hour out.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to council comments, and we'll go to Kevin.
I have nothing tonight.
Brent is not here, we go to Raymond.
I have nothing.
Nate.
Nothing to add.
Greg.
Well, everybody in Ward 2 is patiently waiting for warmth and sunshine, and it's
Yes.
coming. So.
Dave. Nothing from Ward 3. And we go to the Mr. Mayor.
We have a couple years ago become a Beyond Yellow Ribbon community, and we have just received 5 signs that will be posted on our coming into the main street of Owatonna. They will be up before Memorial Day. So.
Thank you. Chris.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. And I have nothing with that. Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment and
Motion.
have a nice vacation.
Thank you.
Motion by Kevin to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave Burbank. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.